Welcome to Reading the Green, a golf and fantasy sports show. My name is Mike with Jordan and Kyle on February 11th. This is episode 130, the Genesis Invitational preview, RTG roundup of the last several weeks in professional golf. Gentlemen, I didn't realize how much I would miss you only doing the show once a month. What's going
Mike,
on?
great to be here. Thank you for having us back. It's been a while, but it's lovely talking to you, fellas, about
You
golf.
make it sound like I've been moonlighting on another show in the off weeks.
You have. I mean,
Yeah, you
you're
did
kind of
that.
big time now, but I appreciate you coming back to the nest.
Jordan, in my first appearance on In Between Media's the 19th hole, I tried to wear the most obnoxious but coolest hat I own just for you.
Well, you did one of those two things, Mike. I do like how you also got your whole setup done behind you for them and not for us and your first podcast in your new office. So, like, don't worry about us and your full white background and a door. But as soon as you go somewhere else, got to get all your stuff up, look pretty.
My wife asked, she goes, "How much those shelves cost?" Because they're in a corner of the storage room.
I mean, would they cost like $12 off Amazon?
Surprisingly more, but not that much more. But I couldn't get by without all of my fancy swag head covers.
Yeah. And your Homer hanky back there.
Yeah, that's proved useful. That's proved useful. But you guys want to run through? You got to run through some topics. Talk about some sports, fantasy sports, golf, professional golf. We were going to talk about Torrey Pines South, round two. But let me start with this. Kyle, as the resident TGL expert, this is the first Tuesday of the TGL season that we do not have TGL golf the whole week. Like I am feeling, I am, I don't know what am I feeling? Dehydration? Like it's something.
There's some disappointed fans out there, I'll tell you that. So I have the pleasure of coaching 8U basketball on Tuesday evenings. We had practice tonight, and my 8-year-old gets home from basketball at 8 o'clock, eats a second dinner as one does after running around the gym for an hour, making the coach pull their hair out, and instantly says, "I'm going to turn on some TGL, Dad." It wasn't on. He was heartbroken. But we have a triple header on Monday. I don't know if you knew that.
What is what is the scheduling reason for this? Is it because we have a signature event this week and guys are getting into Torrey and we weren't going to do the cross country travel for all the top stars? That's got to be it, right? I don't think it's Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm thinking, it's Tiger's event, right? The Genesis, the Tiger Invitational, if you will. So I'm guessing that's why they built it in like this. Everyone wanted to go to Riv when they thought we were going to be here. And then where's the event next week? We go to Mexico.
Mexico. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like how
So
many of
then,
these guys are playing in Mexico?
yeah, none of them are going to Mexico. So we get the triple header next week.
Can't wait for that golf tournament.
Starting at noon. Get excited for Atlanta
No way.
Drive,
It's at
LACC at noon Central Time
on Tuesday, right?
on Monday.
On Monday, triple on Monday on President's Day. Okay.
President's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then but Atlanta's got to play twice. Then so Atlanta and the Bay play, and then the Bay plays Boston.
Yeah, Kyle, I know you're all over. What I've appreciated most is you've had such on point takes for where TGL should expand. I mean, I don't know if we have time to get into it here, but like, I think we're gonna have to break that down in the next show.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'll save it, Mike, if you want. Otherwise,
yeah, no, save it. Save it, because I gotta get Jordan as the resident football expert, and Kyle too. But like, we got Super Bowl. I have two questions. One, like, each of you give me the hot take on Super Bowl wrap up a couple days ago, and then two, I need a highlight on your fantasy football seasons. I know we don't have fantasy going this late in the year, but like we gotta wrap up the football season. So what's Super Bowl? What's the reaction?
It was a boring ass Super Bowl.
Really? Really?
I mean, what do you mean, really? Do
There
you
was
like
there
watching
was
someone win a golf tournament
62
by 37 strokes? No,
there were 62 points scored.
yeah, it doesn't.
Fireworks.
It wasn't. It was complete domination of
Is
the.
there any uh, is there any evidence that Mahomes was betting against himself because he played like it?
No, because his offensive line was hot garbage. I watched. There was I don't know, Twitter somewhere. I saw someone broke down the offensive line plays, and it was. I think it was the fourth Super Bowl ever where one team didn't blitz a single time, maybe fifth, and that team has won every time because if you don't need to blitz and you still get that pressure, you don't need to. You just don't need to. So his offensive line was beaten really in all facets of the game. One of the sacks, I think the center and left guard both didn't touch a single person and let someone go right next to them. Like you can't survive that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
No, of
the
course not.
Eagles D line is amazing to begin with, but they just dominated. I think the most telling thing for me was just the matchup, right? Not many people were super into it unless you're a fan of one of the teams. Uh, like was standing in the kitchen eating food and looked up and like, oh, the game kicked off. Didn't even was
Yeah.
not seated and
Mhm.
ready. I think that's the first time I've ever been like that.
It's a classic can both teams lose this game scenario, which I think is probably what 98% of America wanted.
Yes, and you couldn't even root for the refs because they were wearing red also. Even though in the game most of the calls actually kind of went the Eagles' way.
You know, the most important thing that happened in the Super Bowl is who scored the second touchdown, Jordan? Who was the highest rated cornerback from
I left
Pro
off the
Football
couch.
Focus this year, by the way.
Cooper DeJean. I saw a great. I'll have to find it for you about the Eagles doing a DEI hire of bringing on Cooper DeJean, and then he shows up in the Super Bowl for them.
That's not where I thought you were gonna go. I thought you were gonna say I saw this best video of Cooper DeJean in the tunnel with the cake, but that's where I think.
I have no idea what
was his
Jordan's gonna go
birthday.
Google it now and bring this up in 2 minutes. So we'll let you find it. You'll have a
Well,
comment.
Kyle, though, what was the second best part of the Super Bowl for you?
My food, as always.
What was the third best part?
I won a Super Bowl square.
Hey!
Yeah. That's the first time in like I don't know how long you've been doing this, Jordan. 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it took some nonsense
made
too,
some
right?
money.
It took some nonsense. You
It
needed
took,
like
it took some nonsense. It was a weird scores all around. But again, it comes down to like the right trying 2-point conversions, failing, then getting one at the end. Like
I
think I
had
saw
0-0 though, and I really
Oh,
thought that was going to be money for me. It
that's
got
such
close
a good number.
twice. Yeah.
I think I saw somebody on Twitter post I don't know why they put so much money down on like minus 2,600. Harrison Butker attempts 1 point after in the game, but he didn't because they scored 3 touchdowns. It didn't kick once. Brutal. Well, did either of you? Yeah,
The second part of your question, Mike.
yeah. I was gonna say, either of you have any success in fantasy football this year?
I did, but I joined this league of people I don't really know outside of one guy, and I won it this year, which was fun, right? Won some money, but they have an actual trophy. They're one of those leagues, so it got shipped to me from San Diego, and look how it showed up.
oh,
Whoops, it's broken. So you got to get some
That
super
is
glue ready.
that is a
that's
sweet
legit.
trophy.
Do you have to get it engraved yourself and then pay to ship it out next year?
Well, I had to do. Well, they engraved it for me, but I had to pay for it this year. I'm like, I don't want it engraved.
Wait,
But you would appreciate my team name, Jordan.
You had to pay to get it engraved yourself?
Yes. My team name was Unsolicited Nick Picks.
Oh, nice. That's a good one. Or is this the first year of the league? I only see one engraving
No,
on there.
That's the
Oh,
first
whole side.
on that side. Yeah.
Wow.
Way to represent.
That's the second coolest trophy that I've seen behind the RTG Invitational Jet Black Vokey Wedge.
I mean, that is the coolest one. I'm gonna win it this year finally.
See, I thought Kyle's closest to the pin.
Yeah, the dart.
It was the best. God, that room
pretty solid.
You're gonna need a second room with all your trophies soon.
I know. Watch out, I'm coming for you.
All right. Well,
Gordon, did you win anything this year? Football?
Yeah, good question.
I did fairly good in the regular season in 2 leagues, and then lost out in the first round of the playoffs in both of them.
And your team name was the Minnesota Vikings.
What was my team name? Oh, it was the Rice Rockets, because I had Reishi Rice on my team, and he crashed his car racing.
Got it.
So that was the Rice Rockets.
Briefly, Kyle, are you surviving no NHL for 2 weeks?
You know what? I was gonna ask you this, Mike. Are you gonna watch much Four Nations? I don't really understand.
No, I don't even. I told you
really
2 days
random.
ago.
Yeah.
I thought it was a weekend. I'm surprised it's a 2-week break. And I'm the biggest problem I have is I don't have a daily fantasy contest to enter. I'm just playing golf right now. So that's the bigger problem.
I did look at the schedule today to see if the Wild played tonight. Because 3 days, I'm like, oh yeah, they're probably back on. Oh, I forgot about the Four Nations. It's just really random. Stop a pro season for 2 months to not for the Olympics or anything like that, but just for people from 4 countries to play. When you're leaving out one of the countries that has the biggest representation in your league, I mean, I get why they're out, but still, it's an interesting concept.
I did see Saturday night U.S. Canada. I think is 7 or 8 o'clock. It'll be an interesting.
It's what, like Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, or something? I think that's when US plays.
Nice. I mean, if you're not doing anything, you're still going to turn it on, Mike. I know there's not a lot of interest, but
it's just like TGL. Yes, like if you're home and you're not.
I would say this is a step above TGL.
Is the hockey played on a real ice rink or a simulated ice rink?
The point of if you're home and you're still going to turn it on. That's what
I say the same thing about the cornhole championships. So
which dominated live in the rankings this week anyway. Go ahead.
All right, let's do this. We had 3 events. We had 3 events that have happened since we last chatted in January. We're going to go all the way back, ironically, to the last time that the PGA Tour was at Torrey Pines. Harris English won the Farmers Invitational, kind of out of nowhere. I talked about this with on the other show on the 19th hole, but you kind of peel the covers back and you're like, Harris English kind of does show up in tough environments, but I enjoyed watching him win more. I mean, I didn't really have a lot of great options to choose from, although your guy Aldrich Polketer was right there. But Harris I think he was a good champion of that event.
Yeah, I mean, he's had some good course history there in the past, and I appreciate you saying that name, Mike. So I didn't have to. But yeah, that was my claim of the last pod. Oh, we're throwing that out.
Yeah, and then we moved on to Pebble Beach in the signature event there, the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, and Rory won in what I thought was really un-Rory-like fashion. He actually really played really well from 75 to 150 yards. A lot was made of the tee shots that he was hitting on 14, bombing driver, but he didn't really need to do that all that much. Most of his success went to his ability to get it in the hole from 150 yards and in. And so I guess the question is, either of you, how many majors does Rory win this year? It seems like the over-under is like 1.5 at this point.
It was impressive to see Rory do that on to your point, not a Rory course. I found myself pulling for Rory to an extent, even though I had Tom Kim and Shane Lowry outright. So it was a painful weekend for me. Really thought I was going to get over the finish line possibly there, especially when poked into the lead a little bit on the front nine. But, I have to see more for me to sign up and say, yeah, this is the Rory of the past back where he's going to go get one or he's going to go get the Masters. If he shows up this week and wins it or even finishes top three, it's different for me. But I need to see more.
Yeah, I'm taking the big donut on Rory Majors this year at this point. Although Quail Hollow he has dominated that golf course, and so you get a major field on a tournament of course he's played very well at, maybe, but I'd put some money down on Rory not winning another major the rest of his career.
Yeah, I mean, if you were truly getting odds out there, like the over under would probably be 1.5, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're all under on that.
Yeah.
But if you were going to get really good plus money at 0, I would take that over anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Jordan, I need you to go check on with your guy Sandman and see if guys that we owned in the Calcutta last year still pay out. Do you think they do?
I think I saw you get paid 25% of the total.
You just reach out to whoever has them this year and be like, hey, we had 3 times last year when he was in the lead on Saturday and he didn't convert. Can you just give us 10% of pity money?
Oh, Kyle, did all the work to get through the Calcutta last year and pull out Thomas Dietrich, a guy that picked up his PGA Tour card off the DP World Tour, and you felt like he was a guy that was going to be a champion. He is such a good player. And I don't know if it was just being in just too soon, just didn't have the metal built up to win on the PGA Tour, but gosh, he looked so good on Sunday and wanted more than anything for this to come down to something on the back nine, and he stepped on everybody's throat.
Well, I texted this. He was trying to open the door, that latter part of the front nine. It was very impressive for him to come out with the birdie in 1, but then had the 2 bogeys out there and mix in another birdie. He was kind of teetering, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How many times did he, either it was 47 feet away and had a solid 2-putt, but and not even making like a 8-footer for the par, like a tap in par on a putt percentage like the PGA Tour average. 40% of guys from that spot, I forget which hole that was, 7, I think it was, 3-putted from where he was. It was astronomically high for the PGA Tour. He, easy 2-putt, and then hitting out from under the tree and bending his club, and just he kept it on the tracks. No one else got close enough, and then you're right. It was very impressive. 16, 17, 18, how he finished it out.
That sucks. It was off again. Another I love what the tour is doing. They got the families there, and it really builds up the emotion and the support for these winners. God, we're just 3 months off. 3 months off.
So to tie a couple of our subjects together here, though, but I was reminded on Sunday, even though it wasn't a great close finish, the waste management as a lead up to the Super Bowl is a great feeder Saturday and Sunday, and especially how PGA Tour is so conscious of the time on Sunday. That's one of the things they do right, just like starting Torrey on Wednesday for the farmers. But yeah, I love it. Like talked about, I like to cook. I'm prepping food. Got the golf on. It's a great day.
It is a great day. However long it took, Charlie Hoffman and Nick Taylor going to that playoff, like that, it killed the ratings for the WM Phoenix Open last year because it went right into Super Bowl kickoff.
Yeah, at least this year, I mean, the ratings killed it. Do you see those numbers?
They were lower than the Scotty year, but they crushed last year, obviously. So, but it was good. It was good. And again, this is going to be the case. And there's 0 point to make comparison to live, but it's funny when we're talking about millions of viewers to thousands of viewers.
Yeah.
Last thought on Survivor, because I'm sure at some point, Mike, you're going to bring up one and done here. So I want to make sure Jordan has time to prep for that segment.
Yeah.
But Survivor, you know,
Next.
our boy B Harms, or not Survivor, I guess, Calcutta, our boy Harmon. You know, I don't hate what I'm seeing from him so far. 58 T21, cut at the Amex, whatever, T53 and the T25. He's gaining off the tee and isn't striping it like a normal Brian Harmon striping it. So hopefully, you know, this, if you look back at his past when he's building to a win, usually he's been better on approach. And he just hasn't been, but he usually has, you know, an up, it's a little up and down, I guess I want to say. But him gaining off the tee is new. So if he keeps that up, he's off the tee, guys.
One good week.
We're getting
Yeah,
right
one
there.
good week. He
Like-
was there. He was T7 after Friday, I think. T7, T8 after Friday, and it's like you go out and shoot 64. Can you get in the mix? And we just haven't had that. That was the Players last year where he threw up a 60. I think it was a 64 on Saturday and got in the mix. So I don't know. I don't hate what I'm seeing. Mac Miser's going to win this year. That's already a foregone conclusion. But I don't hate what I'm seeing out of Harmon. Jordan, can we check in a February update? One and done.
Yeah, a whole lot of nothing so far.
Yeah, no
I
kidding.
think one.
I got-
What did Book win last 2 weeks ago? But 1.6 million is it? What are we, 5? Yeah, we're 5
Yeah.
things in. 1.6 million.
Nick
Last
Taylor,
place.
right?
What's that?
I think he got the Nick Taylor W.
Amex. Set.
Yeah.
Oh, Sep, yep. But yeah, so like everyone's still in it. No one's won much. I am down near the bottom, as is Champles, our back-to-back winner, is in third to last place. I'm down there with a +4 total score after 5 rounds. The good news is that's because I've only made the cut twice, so I haven't had a whole lot of rounds that have played. Pretty poor showing on my part. I think Kyle, you're up there 600,000. Mike's just below it. So anyone's game. But listener Book is in the lead at the moment.
It would make my year if perennial check mailer Sippy could hang around. Because I'd love to have to write a check and mail it back.
Yeah, that is great. The only other thing I'll say is there's a couple of entrants out there that need to reach out to us on Twitter and settle up, please.
Yeah, let's figure that out. All right. Well, all the good stuff that's happened. It's amazing. It's like all the stuff that's happened in the world of sports and golf and betting in the last 4 weeks. I know there's a lot more that we could cover. We spend the rest of the show talking about the second iteration of Torrey Pines on the PGA Tour schedule, the Genesis Invitational. It's interesting. This was moved here, obviously, because of the fires in Los Angeles. The news cycle is incredible. I have not seen anything on this in the last 7 to 10 days. And it's almost like do you guys know? Like I'm ashamed a little bit of not like kind of knowing what's going on in Los Angeles, but
Did he freeze or did?
it still was the right call to move the tournament, right?
For sure. I mean, the Palisades was so impacted, and that's right where the course
It was like
is.
a block.
Right?
It was like a block. It was like across the street.
I mean, outside of just like being cognizant of what that looks like relative for the community, right? You also have the infrastructure piece, right? Where do people stay? I'm guessing most of the players rented homes. Where do they get their courtesy cars? All that, right? Where do they go to restaurants?
Yeah, no, it's wild. We have a friend. I don't know if you guys have met her, Ashley, Rachel's friend from business school, lives in West Hollywood and had to evacuate for a little bit. Her house was found. One of her best friend's house burned down in Santa Monica. And she said it's just been like you were moving house to house, move to hotel. Oh, we got to evacuate.
Mhm.
Pick a different hotel. Everyone's trying to find one they think is safe. It sounded like it was just a crazy, intense experience for when it was going on, and it's still people are trying to figure out. I mean,
Yeah.
like schools burned down. Well, where's your kid going to go to school now for the next 2 years while that's being built? Yeah,
And then
it's great. It's wild.
So
But
of
yeah,
least
they should have
concern
moved it.
is hosting the Genesis Invitational. As much as we want to see Riv on TV, I'm sure we'll be back next year. But we can handle Torrey for another week. So Kyle, do you have? I mean, I know we talked at length about Torrey, what gets it done there. It's length, it's figuring out how to putt on tricky POA greens. But like, has anything changed in the last month and how Torrey's going to play this week, given that's all on the South course?
think so. And that's some of the consensus we've seen in the community as well. Indy Lack has a pretty good podcast. He released it on Sunday, so a little early from the weather look, but I think that's going to be a big theme this week is weather. Not only has it been fairly wet for San Diego standards the last 10 days, if you pull up the forecast for Thursday, it looks very, very interesting. But I don't think it will be like before because when we saw Torrey out there before, long rough as always, we're still going to have that. It's narrow. Yes, you need length to navigate it, but it was firm and played firm and fast. And that's why they had the delay with the high winds because they simply just couldn't hold the greens. Well, we have rain leading in, and then you look at the forecast for Thursday at 7 a.m. Winds at 12, gusting to 21 all the way to 17 gusting to 25, and then 18 gusting to 30 at sunset with kind of on and off rain all day, 55 degrees, not overly warm. And then Friday, a decent amount of wind as well and some wetness in the morning. And then for San Diego, kind of cool into the weekend. So I think the weather is going to play a big factor this week, and the course will not play as firm just because of the wetness they've seen leading into it. So I think that's going to be a bigger story than it was the first time around. And I'm curious too if the winds on Thursday scare the tour. I don't know if this was planned or not, but we're going off in threesomes on the back and front. So the first tee time on Thursday is at 9:30, and the last tee time on Thursday is at 11:30. So
It
it's a very
destroys
consolidated.
wave stacking. Like how
Yeah,
you can't really wave stack.
you can't really wave stack. It's very consolidated. Uh, so I don't know. That seems to be a curious decision, but yeah, a little cold, a little wet. Still gonna play Torrey. Still gonna be long, but I think it's gonna be a little softer. And obviously, you still have the putting piece of it. So I guess maybe that de-emphasizes kind of the longer iron piece in my mind. You still need to recover out of the rough, but I think you can maybe open the door for ball strikers a little bit more as opposed to just bomb and gouge. If I was trying to look for an angle over a normal Tory narrative.
I mean, 7,700-yard golf courses play pretty long when the fairways are wet. So you are going to need, like, and one of the stats I think I saw Ron Claus talking about was carry distance. You wanted guys that could carry their driver far because that was going to be a huge advantage versus guys that maybe hit it lower, get a little more roll. And so he was tracking down some carry distances. I still think length is going to be a huge factor, but I think you're right. It probably neutralizes how tricky it is to hit in these small POA greens. You're going to get a little more forgiveness hitting long irons in there. So, yeah, I don't know. The wave stacking is going to be interesting because I'm all for it. I'm all for it on a really windy day to go find. I was looking at Friday afternoon as being, well, if of the 4 time slots, if I could just take the dry one, even if it's a little windy, can I take the dry one? But you're not really going to have guys playing late into Friday, so I would say maybe probably punt on any wave stacking at this point. All right, well, let's run through the RTG model. We got a lot of content in. So there's probably some reasonable takes here. Kyle, who are you looking at?
Yeah, leading the way so far is Rory. I like we talked about, I don't think that's a surprise given he's coming off a win his last time out. He's 10,900 this week, 52% mention share, and pretty strong on the MPI, 72. Right behind him was Adam Scott, $7,500, 47% mention share. Mentioned power index a little light, and Adam Scott is someone I did look at. He has some pretty good history at Torrey, T26, a second, a T2, and a T35 here. Over obviously different setups for different courses, the U.S. Open, the Farmers, and that bundle. And this year he's off to a pretty solid start with T15, T37, T22. So even though our MPI doesn't love him, I think you can do a lot worse at 7,500. I think it's more of a cash game play for me though, just because I think a lot of people are on Adam Scott obviously this week, as our mention share shows. Right behind Adam Scott next is Gary Woodland. If you're really going for the value of play at $6,600, 41% mention share. MPI doesn't love him so far. And then I'm guessing we'll talk about some of the guys right behind him. So I'll pass that back to you on that one.
You can't spell Kikuya without Aussie, right? Come on, give me my Aussies. Give me my Aussies on this familiar turf. I could take Jason Day. I could take Cameron Davis. I could take Adam Scott. I will back you on Scott. I do think he's going to be incredibly steamed up at $7,500, but he is number 1 in the field in strokes gained on Torrey Pines South, and he's number 6 in the field putting on POA, and he has really played awesome here. He's T35, T26 at U.S. Opens, T10, and a second at the Farmers in the 2 years he's played. Like, it's kind of everything you want there, but I do agree. He's just, I would look out for the ownership, cash game play. Totally agree with you. And then otherwise, we talked about a little bit earlier, Rory. I think Rory is an absolute amazing fit for this golf course. He has not played this tournament a ton. So that's why we don't see him play the Farmers all that much. So his experience typically comes through the U.S. Open, and he played the Farmers twice, but T5, T3, T16, and a T7 at the U.S. Open. He played the Farmers 3 times. But there's really nobody better in the field on long golf courses and driving distance. So like the stat profile is there. He doesn't even have to be that good on the wedge play. Like, it's just do what he does best and play long, hard golf course as well. So again, Rory's going to get, frankly, because of all the ownership that Scotty's going to take still, which I in our model's not even charting out Scotty that high as far as consensus goes. Scotty still might get 40 or 50% of ownership in a small field like this. Rory will be the second highest owned, but you might be half the ownership of Scotty.
It's going to be higher than Scotty.
You think Rory's higher owned than Scotty?
Yeah, I think it's just getting cooked up, and maybe I'm wrong. That's my lean right now, and okay. But I'm wanted to have this conversation because that's 100%, especially in a GPP, an ownership play for me. All right, if I can get Rory, if he's going to be less than Scotty, I was going to take him as my cash play anyway, right? But I've taken in more podcasts this week than I normally would at this point already, because I'm trying to get a sense on what people are going to do. If I can get, I don't know. That's why at the end of the day, it's like, what do your ownership numbers say? Because if Rory's going to be lower, hell yeah, sign me up.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking Scotty right now because I think he's going to be lower.
I think you're exactly right. Just take between those two guys. Like, I mean, Scotty has like an off week. Where do you finish? He played terrible on the back. He ends up falling down the leaderboard. But like,
he was up the third though. Like,
I mean, fine. We saw 63 great holes out of Scotty. Well, maybe like the first 5 were not great because I was already sweating my survivor pick. But like, I think we've seen enough from Scotty to know he's gonna win sometime now in the next 4 events.
Yeah, he was going for the eagle to hop back up there and made the issue. So I think that's going to be really interesting to play out over the next day or so. We might need to bet on this, Mike. I think right now, I don't know. We'll see. The other plays I'm looking at, I'm kind of surprised isn't getting talked up a little bit more is Sepp. He's at 8K right now, only 11% mention share, but pretty strong on the MPI. Just a guy that's playing some great golf. Matt Gannon at SPGN has highlighted him. Lee Aldrich at Ship It Nation. He's 15th last week. T7 at Pebble, obviously coming after the win at the Amex. Oh yeah, that's the one Blue Coal's got, right? And then he was T30 at Sony, T15 at Century. Like even back to into the fall, he was playing pretty good golf too. So I think you're just getting a great form at 8,000. I'm very interested there, especially if he's not going to carry a lot. But then you also have Sam Stevens, 7,600, 17% mention share so far. That again is playing some great golf. T44 last week, but T17 at Pebble, and he was second here in the past, and he has the right type of game skill set to be successful at Torrey.
Yeah, if you can get Sepp, if Sepp ends up being single digit, it's like you take arguably one of the top 3 or 4 hottest golfers right now of the early season and still being overlooked, and he has a win. A great driver of the golf ball, top 10 in driving in this field. So, yeah, Sepp is a good play at 8K. I'll bounce back with Russell Henley. I think Russell Henley's probably going to come in a little higher owned. I've seen a lot of talk about him just being an awesome non-outright betting play. You want to take him top 5, top 10, first round leader. I mean, Russell has been really good the last 11 months. I don't think we're really noticing how good he's been. He's got 7 top 10s in the last 11 months. And he's doing it the Russell way. He is 4th in the field in driving accuracy, 6th in good drive percentage. He's gained strokes on approach, as we would expect, in almost every single event except for the hit and giggle Hero World Challenge. So, like, and the only thing is, like, he's actually putting pretty well. He's had some really good weeks, and so I got him 17th in the field in putting. So I think he still might come in like 15 to 18% owned. So I don't think you're getting a sneaky pick with Russell, but if you want to get a second or even third guy in at 8,600, depending on how you're building, I think he'd be a good guy to go to that I think has definitely top 5 upside this week. Jordan, anyone? Any of those guys? You got 5 or 6 guys out there? Anyone resonating with you? That mute button, maybe?
Wife came home and I said hi, and then I muted myself. There's a few, you mentioned a few of them that I've got. I really tried to focus on who played at this recently and played well, because it's not going to be that much different. So I got some Sung Jae, who's getting a little bit of model love there. I picked Thigala. He had 3 good rounds and 1 total crap round. If that 80 is a 70, I don't know what he ends up at in the Farmers Open, but it's pretty high up. So he played well for 3 days there, 2 on the hard course. And then I got some Bradley. And then I guess you want my whole lineup? Straka and McIlroy as well.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
I got the guys playing really well, and then a group that played here less than a month ago that hit it well.
I want Keegan Bradley to win this event, so this would go such a long ways in getting him that Ryder Cup spot, win the signature event this year. Like, he can do it. This is a good golf course for him.
Player coach. Okay, Kyle, what else do we need to talk about here? Mike needs you and I to fill some time.
Well, how about my bets this week, Jordan?
Oh yeah, that's a great one. That's a great one.
I've been dabbling a little bit, took a little break from the betting markets and back dabbling now. I've had a couple of good sweats this year, so I feel like we're close. Some guys that definitely not playing in DFS, but happily bet on this week. I think my lean is we're not going to have a stud win. I don't know. We've kind of had the Scotty debate with Rory. I don't think Rory's going back to back on an elevated event. Scotty seems close, but I don't think he's quite there. I think once we get back east, we're going to see Scotty run off a couple in a row. So I think we're going to go a little deeper. And a lot of the guys that you're having to get 16 to 30 to 1 right now, the JTs of the world, the Sung Jays. When's the last time those guys have won? So I'm going a little deeper. Victor Hovland 50. Tony Finau 50. I don't love Tony, but to win this week. But if he's going to do it anywhere, if he's going to pop back anywhere, this seems to be the place. He's got some great course history here. He's working with a new coach this week. Put out some good things, sound bites in the media that he feels like his game's close. Kim Young 71. If Kim Young's ever going to win an event again, this seems like it's going to be his kind of place. The king of finishing second, but he hasn't even done that in a while. Sam Stevens, 75. We saw him get second here just 2 weeks ago, so why not? And then we've talked about him a lot, but Adam Scott, 80. Adam Scott feels like the kind of guy that is just going to have one more pop where he wins a big event, whether it's a major or elevated event. He feels like he's got one more in him. If he's going to do it anywhere, why not Torrey?
I like it. Also, I looked up the Farmers Insurance Open, and if Segala would have shot a 70 instead of an 80, which was in line with all of the rest of his scores, he would have been top 5. So one bad. I don't know what went wrong in the round. Something went wrong. A lot went wrong to shoot an 80.
It was the wind drops. So he was out there right at the pinnacle of the crap.
Oh, there we go. This is what happens when you watch what's going on, Kyle, instead of me.
If I just had $1 for every time I said if I only would have shot a 70 instead of an 80,
yeah,
be a pretty good golfer.
But this is easy for them to do. You and me shooting those is.
I know. I have one more guy that Kyle. I don't have the number on him. I'm surprised his salary is actually this high, and I did write him up this week. But Taylor Pendrith, you think he's going to catch a little bit of steam? I'm lucky if we can get him at 10% and maybe be the lowest owned guy among Cantlay, Im, Lowry, Henley, kind of in that high 8, low 9 range. But Taylor Pendrith, we know he's a notable masher of the golf ball off the tee, and he's a perennial team no putt pick. But he has only lost strokes putting in 3 of his last 11 events, and one of those was the Farmers a few weeks ago, where he lost over 3 strokes putting and still finished top 10. So again, a guy with a ton of length off the tee, pretty good course history here. I'm kind of a little surprised he's coming at 9K, but if we think he's going to be high single digits, around 10% owned, I think that's a nice pivot in that 9K range.
Yeah, I know we talked a little bit about this pre-pod, Mike, but I think it's going to be interesting. You highlighted the good course history here, T9, T7, last 2 times out. And I don't think Cantlay is going to get played, but I think Lowry might, even though I don't love the fit, just from especially the wind and weather standpoint, if that narrative keeps getting cooked up. Sungjae will, just because of some of his history here. So if he doesn't get played, it's 100% going to be because of who's around him and just getting squeezed from a price perspective. Because I do think that's going to be a common build. Someone starting with a Rory and then slamming in, a guy in the 9s. It maybe even up to 10K from Morikawa, because you can do like a Rory, Colin, Adam Scott, Keegan, Gary Woodland, and Akshay. That build works this week because you have $6,600 Gary Woodland and $7,500 Adam Scott. So I do think there's going to be a couple of people in that range that do get cooked up, but that's also good to keep in mind from getting different. That doesn't mean you can't start Rory and Pendrith. Just don't put Gary Woodland in that one lineup. Find somebody else, either slightly up higher or slightly lower. That's your guy down there.
You know who's not going to be in any of my lineups? Gary fucking Woodland.
I think that's a great place to start.
I'm just gonna start with that one right there. I'm over Gary.
Woodland, I agree. For some reason, the DFS community thinks he is destined for a West Coast win or top finish. this year, and he withdrew from Farmers a few weeks ago. But Gary doesn't do really anything well outside of hit the ball a long way. He's played in an event at this course 16 times, and he has 2 top 10 finishes. He only has 2 missed cuts, but like, so he's just kind of finished perpetually 50 to 60 at Torrey Pines. But outside of hitting the ball long, I don't really have any interest in playing him.
Yeah, you said that well, Mike. I 100% agree with everything you said.
Well, I think we should wrap up, and I am outside chance that maybe there's an in-person pod for the Players Championship in a month, and maybe it's like at a golf simulator. I don't know. I think that'd be super fun.
I think we can make that happen.
We
We can make it happen. We need to start planning it more than one day in advance.
There is the simulator that's out west here is open till like 11 or 12. And every time I've been there, we've been the only people in there, and it's BYOB. So it could be a long way for you guys to come, but it's a pretty nice setup.
I got a couple of reads on some spots, so we should just get ahead of that. But in the meantime, you can follow Reading the Green on Twitter at R2G Podcast DFS. Our YouTube channel, Reading the Green, has new episodes every Wednesday. Well, not every Wednesday. Wednesdays, once a month at this point. And every major podcast platform will have that as well. So we'll be back in a month with maybe some simulator golf, a TGL kind of style action, and a preview of the Players Championship. See ya.